Hi everyone, this is Katerina. Right now I'm going to do a tutorial on how to use Musescore arranging software. When I first started arranging, I felt like I didn't really know how to use the software and it was kind of daunting going in at first. So I'm just going to try to help people who maybe don't know the software get familiarized with it so you don't feel scared to start arranging and so you find it fun. And anyway, the first step is you open Musescore. It's this little logo with an MU formata. You click it, you open it, you do File, New. I'm going to do the title as Twinkle Little Star. Composer is someone, and then you do Arranged by and put in your name. And then the copyright you do, if it's for radio, you do Radio Music Society. Okay, so then you do Next. So at the top you can either have a blank template where you manually add in the instruments. I find it a lot easier if you scroll down to Chamber Music and you see the string quartet option. This is the string quartet option, and that will just automatically have, violin in one, violin two, viola, cello, and it's kind of nice. Here's where you can pick the key signature. So if you hear a song, you really like it, you really want to arrange it, you might not go in knowing what the key is, and that's okay. Often what I will do is if you, for example, say you wanted to arrange, for me I'm arranging Carry On Wayward Son. What I will often do is I will go on Google and Google Carry On Wayward Son piano score and just have it as a reference, and you can use it to help because you can separate the parts, you can make the parts based on like the chords of the piano. Some people can do it by ear, and for me, like, that takes a lot of practice and time, but for some people, like, it comes like very naturally. So you can kind of start arranging whatever best suits you, from a pre-existing piano score, other type of arrangement, or using your ear, or messing around on the piano, whatever is easiest for you. For me, I don't really know what it is for Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, so I'm just going to go in with C major, and we can always change it if we need to. Here's where you can have the time signature. You can change it. You can do cut time. I would change it. I think it normally starts at like 30 or something. I would put in more measures, 100, whatever, and you can always delete at the end. Okay, so then finish. Voila, we have 100 measures to do Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, which is way more than we need. Okay, so what's the first thing you can do? The first feature I'm going to show you guys, I like to use this feature. It's called View Master Palette. The Master Palette has all kinds of stuff. If you wanted to change the key, you can change the key. If you want to change the time signature in the middle of the song, you can change the time signature. Repeats, you can add a repeat. Okay, and so I'm going to show you how you can use this when we do Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Here's the first thing I'm going to do. For this, I'm not going to use a piano score, even though you can, because I think everyone kind of knows how Twinkle Twinkle Little Star goes. So for a song like this, it might be easier to actually just do it by ear. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, star, wonder what you are. And the nice thing is when you do Musescore, so like that's one way of doing it. Obviously, like, I'm not a singer, but like it just helps, however you do process and do stuff like this. Singing helps me sometimes to hear it, especially because a lot of the pop songs are sung normally. So what you do is you push the note where in the measure, or you push a measure that you want to start on, and you push the space bar and it'll play it back. So now looking back at this, I think it actually needs to be half notes now that I'm thinking about this. So I'm going to, below it, space it out. So I'm going to click the space bar, not the space bar, the rest. And so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to type this note one more time. You can put in the notes a number of different ways. So the way I'm putting in the notes is, the one way is you can either press the P on your keyboard, that shows you a piano, and you can push and you can mess around on the piano to kind of figure out how things sound. You can also use the keyboard. So if I type a D on your keyboard, that puts a D in, and then you push it with your cursor and you can move it with your arrow keys. So for me, this is too high, it's an octave too high. So if I push the down arrow, I push the down arrow all the way to where it needed to be. Okay, so now how am I going to make this a half note? So you go up here, and this will affect the duration of the note. So right now it's on a quarter note, right? So I'm going to push this, now it's a half note. And the nice thing is now that it's selected on half note, I can just copy what I see up here. So I see D, D. Now I'm pushing the up arrow, right? A, B, B, A. I think this is held longer. Twinkle. I'm going to copy this. You can actually select it and Command X and actually do Command B like you would with a text. So let me hear this. This is too slow. I was completely off on this. Okay, deleting that. So I'm going up here. I think it's actually twinkle, twinkle, little star. So I'm going to copy and paste this over one. Yes, I'm going to copy this. I'm going to make this a half note. So I'm going to push the half bar note. Oop, there it is. Okay, so then I'm going to do Command V. Then it's over here. So it's going to, okay, so I'm going to make this a half note. So I'm going to select that with my cursor, and then I'm going to go over here and do that. That's the melody. So now what we're going to do is we're going to have to layer, right? Because there are 3 other parts. So something I like to do is a really simple way to make a harmony. You select a measure by pushing on it with your cursor in the white space, not on a note. You push on the white space, that selects a measure. You hold down shift, and then you push on the other measures you also want to select. So I'm putting my finger on shift, and I'm clicking all these other measures. So you can even just push the start measure, and then push the end measure, and it'll select all of it. So I'm going to do Command C, and I'm going to paste it below. Okay? And the trick is, and it doesn't always work, if you do a third above or a third below, that's often a really pretty harmony. I'm going to do F. This, when you notice they're weird, I'm going to make this a B because that's a G. And this works. Okay, so I'm going to try this. And we'll see if it sounds horrible, then we change it. Not like that. Okay, I'm going to try it again. And then maybe this needs to go up an octave. Make you work a little harder. Okay, so I want it to be F sharp. Okay, I'm going to try it. Let's see how it sounds. I think this sounds good. Okay, so that's our melody. Now we have to get some kind of a harmony going, but we have to layer even more elements on, right? How are we going to make this acoustically interesting so it's not just twinkle, twinkle, little star? We're going to have to add something else. So often you can also scramble who has melody, who has the harmony. And that's something that I think is a strength of being in a string quartet and playing pop music on string quartets, is that even though oftentimes in the pop song, you have a chorus that repeats itself a lot, what I will do is say Twinkle Twinkle Little Star is a pop song and this comes up over and over again. Then I will Command C and I'll Command V it. That'll make it interesting. Even if you hear the same thing over and over again, you can scramble who has the melody. That can help make it more interesting. Anyway, back to this. So what I want to do is I want to give this to the viola. I'm going to give the viola half notes. I often have trouble because I play the cello, so sometimes I have trouble reading the tenor clef, and if you aren't comfortable reading treble or bass or tenor clef, sometimes it might be nice to just write it on a cheat sheet. The way I remember for tenors, I'm going to zoom in here so you can see. So if you look where my cursor is, this middle line is a C, but for the other ones I do know better. If you don't know for treble clef very well, every good boy does fine. So it's E, G, B, D, F. And then for the white spaces, it's F, A, C, E to spell the word face. Cello, G, B, D, F, A. But that's for the lines. G, B, D, F, A. Then it's A, C, E, G for the whites spaces. Okay, anyway. So what I will often do is say you're doing half notes. See, how I have the half note selected. If you select a rest, you can subdivide the rest. So like if I select this rest and I click a half note, it will split it into half notes. Or if I select a whole note, it'll be a whole note. That's kind of what I did, so you can just now type in the notes. The next note I might want to have in this harmony, here's where you can have the piano out to help you. So you can see, okay, so I'm going to push the P and now it'll go away. F sharp, that's those two notes. So now we have A, F sharp, and C. It's like an inverse of what we just did. So now we can do D. If you type D, it'll put a D in for you. So you can see how it sounds. So it sounds like the harmony's okay. Often when I'm doing an arrangement, the first time I go through, I might be doing this, and then I'll go back and hear it again. I'll be like, oh, that measure sounds dissonant, or something doesn't sound right. And that's just part of the arranging process. And sometimes you won't catch it until rehearsal, and someone else will be like, hey, I think this chord sounds weird. And sometimes you'll keep editing through rehearsals, and that's totally fine, and that's part of the process. Don't feel like discouraged or like you're behind or something if you keep making changes through the rehearsals. And sometimes it's nice to get that feedback from your other quartet members, or maybe you'll hear it in person and want to add something. So it can be a very interactive process too. Okay, so then this next one, perfect, and now we can do our D again. Okay, so we can do beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to do a C. I'm just going to click C on my keyboard. A is the next thing. I think I want the A to be up the octave, so I'm going to have to read the clef. So it's, I believe it's there. I'm going to check one more time. Yep. Okay. I'm going to zoom out again. To zoom, I'm using a Mac, and for me, if I put it on the mouse pad, I can zoom in and out with my fingers. If you had an attached mouse, I'm sure there's a way you can do it similarly, or you can probably do it with the view and somehow zoom with the view. I think I'm going to do an A. You can even see it if you pull up the keyboard. I'm going to do a D major chord, so I'm going to put an F sharp there. I'm going to click the P again, it goes away. So I'm going to click F. If you click F, so that's just F natural. To get it to an F sharp, I'm going to push the up bar once. Now it's a sharp. If I push it down once, F natural. So you just use the up and down arrow keys to go up. Okay, so I'm going to click the space bar, F, and then one up arrow, sharp. Okay, and then we can see. I like it. Okay, so then what are we going to do for the cello? So I'm going to use this as like an opportunity to talk about what to do if you have a triplet. When you do triplets on Musescore, first thing you would do is like you have to do command 3. So for me, if I do it on the whole rest, if I do command 3, then it's going to be a triplet of half notes. Do a command 3 on a half note, it's a triplet of quarter notes. In our case, I think I want to do quarter note triplets. So again, I'm doing half note, command 3. The reason and again, you don't have to do that. Like you could do it kind of differently, but that's for me the easiest way to set up a triplet is to do it like that before you type in the notes. You can also change the duration of the note as you type it in. So say I type C or something and I'm like, oh, whoops, I want to change it. You click C, you change it to half note, whole note, whatever you want. But for me, for triplet notes, I think this is the easiest way to do it. Say you would like to look something up using the Musescore help desk. So I'm going to show you how you do that. So say I didn't know how to do quarter note triplets and I wanted to Google it. So I go triplet Musescore. Here's the Musescore website and it's showing you to create triplets. They even have a video on how to do it. Slowly you'll pick up the keyboard tricks and it'll just take some practice to do that. Because we just started making this, see how it has a little star? The little star means it's not saved. So I'm going to do command S to save. Perfect. Let's figure out what to do for this harmony. I'm just trying to think, is there any other way we can make it different? And I think honestly it's fine. It'll round out the chord and we have some different stuff in the middle. I think it'll sound really pretty and I'm sure it's going to sound nice. Okay, so we have Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. We made it a little interesting. Okay, so now we can kind of fine tune it now that we have like the skeleton. What I'm doing right now is kind of stuff you might go back and do later after you have the notes put in. Say I decide I want the cello to pluck this. So you select the note you want to start the plucking on. You do command T and you type pits. You right click it. You select staff text properties. You click channel 1. You change from normal to pizzicato. So now I'm listening to this and I'm like, okay, I don't hear the cello at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to our master palette that I talked about before, view master palette. I'm going to go to dynamics. I'm going to make cello forte so you can hear it. Again, this is more stuff you'd add at the end when you're going back and listening. Maybe we crescendo it. Okay, so let's say we want to do a crescendo, then view master palette. When you go under the master palette, if you want to apply something, you double click it and it'll show up. And you always select the note and the part you want it to appear in. So I wanted to put a crescendo here, so I selected this. I'm going to do the same thing in the one below anyway. So I'm going to select here, this note. I'm going to do view, master palette, double click crescendo. I'm just kind of moving them so that way it fits. Sometimes the elements will collide with each other. So I'm sure that this crescendo symbol is going to mess with the pizzicato, and I'm probably going to move them so that way I can see better. So I selected that note, crescendo. This last note, I want the cello to have arco. So I'm going to, again, go in now. So I select the note, Command-T, arco. Select that. Right-click. Staff text properties. 1, normal. Okay. Maybe it'll get quieter. So we'll do view, master palette, we'll make it quiet. And you can, again, this is kind of like stylistic stuff you can add at the end. And honestly, the stylistic stuff is kind of how you can put your own touch on the classic pop songs that you know, and kind of be able to have that ownership of like you kind of translated this into a string quartet. Some other things that are kind of helpful to know when you're arranging. If you wanted to put in a slur, what you do is you can either click this button, that'll slur if it's the same note. If it's not the same note, you can do the same thing. You click the first note, you click S on your keyboard, that puts in the slur. You click out of it, bam, slur. Again, if you wanted to have a dot, say this is a quarter, make it a dotted quarter, you push the dot, it'll do that for you. Before we listen to our final Pretty Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, something that I like to do to help me print and export when I'm done with my arrangement, I go to File, Parts, New All, select All. This is really nice because if you want to send to your quartet and they can listen to the individual part, and then if you wanted to export the parts, you go File, Export Parts, and it will like export everything. So like say it's Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, it's a PDF, I'm putting it in my desktop. Look, so you have violin 1, violin 2, viola. It should have just the cello. It's something's wrong with my Musescore, but normally it will just show the each part. So now let's listen to our final version. That's your arrangement. That's how you export. That's how you have all the parts. And again, if you ever have any questions, reach out to anyone on exec, reach out to anyone who's an upperclassman. We're all here to help each other. I certainly know I will send my arrangement around to try to get other people's opinions. If I'm stuck, it's not sometimes nice to have another person hear it and kind of get outside your own head. Come to arranging workshops and we all get together. It's really fun. If you haven't done an arranging workshop, please come. I hope this helps you as you do your verse and a chorus for August. So take care.